Hello, I'm Willie from the Ozarks, and that was my Tom Turkey. And we're ready for lesson 87 in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. I will there be light, there is no will but God's, which are a review for today. And lesson 87, we're reading from the original edition here in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. And some other things that are going on around the world today. Children's Picture Book Day, National Black Forest Cake Day. Grandpa always talked about National Black Forest. He didn't talk about the cake day. And Weed Appreciation Day. Weed Appreciation Day. You know, all the plants that we eat are basically weeds. Plant out of place is my definition of a weed. So today we're going to talk a little bit about these wonderful smelling hyacinths. We'll call that a weed for today. Anyway, and we're going to also talk a little bit about circle gardening, which you can see a little circle and there's my tool for digging, a garden pick, which I highly recommend if you're an Ozarkian. Lesson 87, our review today will cover these ideas. I will there be light. I will use the power of my will today. It is not my will to grope about in darkness, fearful of shadows and afraid of things unseen and unreal. Light shall be my guide today. I will follow it where it leads me, and I will look only on what it shows me. This day I will experience the peace of true perception. These forms of this idea would be helpful for specific application. This cannot hide the light I will to see. This cannot hide the light I will to see. Or if you're tempted to hold a grievance, say, you stand with me in light, and name the person that seems to be causing you some opportunity to learn or to awaken. In the light, this will look different. In the light, this will look different. Everything's going to look beautiful in the light. All those near-death experiences people have, and they come back, the one thing that's almost universal, as far as I can tell, is this this wonderful bright light of care, of love, that just completely embraces you. There is no will but God's. That's lesson 74 review. I am safe today because there is no will but God's. I can become afraid only when I believe that there is another will. I try to attack only when I am afraid. And only when I try to attack can I believe that my eternal safety is threatened. Only when I am afraid, and only... let me back that up. I try to attack only when I am afraid. So attack is a secondary response to being afraid. And only when I try to attack can I believe that my eternal safety is threatened. Today I will recognize that all this has not occurred. I am safe today because there is no will but God's. I am safe today because there is no will but God's. These are some useful forms of this idea for specific application. Let me perceive this in accordance with the will of God. You know, when you see things according to what God is always allowing and wanting and encouraging and sponsoring, which is always occurring, you can always see it in any manifestation if you're willing to look for it. So look for it and say to yourself, let me perceive this in accordance with the will of God. Or, it is God's will, you are His son, and then name the person, and mine as well. It is God's will, you are His son, Joe, and mine as well. Or John, or Mary, or whoever your name might be. It is God's will, you are His son, name, and mine as well. So it's your your will also, that that we're all in this together. We just want to identify that with each other. This is part of God's will for me, however I may see it. This is part of God's will for me, however I may see it. Okay, let's go take a look in our text reading, and we're ready for the inclusiveness of creation. Is that where we're at? Yes, the inclusiveness of creation, which is in chapter 9, the correction of error, section 8, the inclusiveness of creation. We'll begin on paragraph 59. So let me just tell you a little bit about what I've got here. This is a hyacinth, and there is just such a wonderful smell on a hyacinth. I just love that smell. Here's what I found about it, is that hyacinths, Hyacinthus orientalis, are considered not edible. Hyacinths are a type of flowering plant, and while they may look tempting, they contain toxins that can be harmful to people and animals if ingested. So I found that on thedonuthole.com. So be aware. I also found somewhere else that for some people that they'll make you break out with an allergic reaction. So if you're one of those kind of people, then you'll maybe want to wear gloves when you're planting the bulbs. They've never seemed to bother me, and then I found this on the Multidisciplinary Digital Publishing Institute, NDPI, and it says that of the hyacinths, in traditional medicine, the whole plant, leaves and bulbs, were used as a hemostatic. That means it stops blood. For the treatment of prostate disease and hemorrhoids, and for wound healing. So, you know, even though it can be considered toxic, used by a wise healer for the right thing, and it could be very, very beneficial. Get some dirt on my book. Now, I wanted to tell you just briefly about, this is where I planted 13 potatoes. One in the center, one at the 4 cardinal directions, and then around the perimeter, I planted the rest of them. So there's 13 potatoes, so you can figure about a dozen or 13 potatoes in each hill. It's about 4 or 5 foot diameter. And I just take the dirt all around it and pull it all up. So even though it's a raised bed, just because I pulled the dirt around from the path. And I put these every, this is my Yukon Golds planted in this hill. And I like this type of gardening because I'm the human rototiller with my garden pick, which I would encourage anybody that has really hard soil or rocky soil. This is a good tool for use in gardening here in the Ozarks. You get your back working. So, little spurts at a time. But, I can come out here and do a hill or two in a few minutes and get it planted, and that's what I'm doing. I just kind of want to show you the way I do these hills. Okay, the inclusiveness of creation. Nothing beyond yourself can make you fearful or loving, because nothing is beyond you. Time and eternity are both in your mind and will conflict until you perceive time solely as a means to regain eternity. See time solely as a means to regain eternity. Wow, there you go. There's what you use time for. You cannot do this as long as you believe that anything which happens to you is caused by factors outside yourself. I was listening to a channeler. He says he's channeling UFO persons, and he was saying that these higher intelligence, really, beings that are kind of anyways, they watch humans, and they always laugh about how we're so afraid of death and how we spend so much time to go do things to take care of ourselves, monetarily speaking. That those are two things that they just think are kind of humorous. The humans end up involving their days with? Well, we would maybe be a little bit more enlightened if we would use our ideas to regain eternity, is what I'm trying to say. Time and eternity are both in your mind and will conflict until you perceive time solely as a means to regain eternity. You cannot do this as long as you believe that anything which happens to you is caused by factors outside yourself. You must learn that time is solely at your disposal, and nothing in the world can take this responsibility from you. You can violate God's laws in your imagination, but you cannot escape from them. They were established for your protection and are as inviolate as your safety. And that word inviolate, free or safe from injury or violation. So God's laws were established for your protection and are as inviolate as your safety. But don't underestimate the power of your own imagination to make a world that seems to be where you seem vulnerable. But remember, there's a reality going on all the time, and we can access that. And that's what we want to learn to access in time, so that we can bring forth eternity. And don't have to wait for the end of your life to experience your eternal beingness. God created nothing besides you, and nothing besides you exists, for you are part of Him. God created nothing beside you, and nothing beside you exists, for you are part of Him. What except Him can exist? Nothing beyond Him can happen, because nothing except Him is real. Your creations add to Him as you do, but nothing is added that is different, because everything has always been. What can upset you except the ephemeral? The ephemeral, the changeable, the world of change. What can upset you except the ephemeral? And how can the ephemeral be real if you are God's only creation, and He created you eternal? Your holy will establishes everything that happens to you. Every response you make to everything you perceive is up to you. Every response you make to everything you perceive is up to you, because your will determines your perception of it. Let's read that again. Every response you make to everything you perceive is up to you, because your will determines your perception of it. That turkey just wants to get in here and make some noise. God does not change. God does not change His mind about you, for He is not uncertain of Himself. God does not change His mind about you, for He is not uncertain of Himself. And what He knows can be known, because He does not know only for Himself. He created you for Himself, but He gave you the power to create for yourself so you could be like Him. That is why your will is holy. Can anything exceed the love of God? Can anything then exceed your will? Nothing can reach you from beyond it, because being in God, you encompass everything. Believe this, and you will realize how much is up to you. When anything threatens your peace of mind, ask yourself, has God changed His mind about me? Has God changed His mind about me? So when anything threatens your peace of mind, ask yourself, has God changed His mind about me? Then accept His decision, for it is indeed changeless, and refuse to change your mind about yourself. God will never decide against you, and He would be deciding against Himself. The reason you do not know your creations is simply that you would decide against them as long as your minds are split, and to attack what you have created is impossible. We got quite a bunch of birds making noise, don't we? But remember that it is as impossible for God. The law The reason you do not know your creations is simply that you would decide against them as long as your minds are split, and to attack what you have created is impossible. But remember that it is as impossible for God. The law of creation is that you love your creations as yourself because they are part of you. Remember that. Everything that you see is part of you, is your creation. Everything that was created is therefore perfectly safe because the laws of God protect it by His love. Any part of your mind that does not know this has banished itself from knowledge because it has not met its conditions. 65. Who could have done this but you? Recognize this gladly, for in this recognition lies the realization that your banishment is not of God, and therefore does not exist. You are at home in God, dreaming of exile, but perfectly capable of awakening to reality. It is your will to do so. You know from your own experience that what you see in dreams you think is real as long as you are asleep. Yet the instant you awaken, you know that everything that seemed to happen did not happen at all. You do not think this mysterious, even though all the laws of what you awakened to were violated while you slept. It is not possible. Is it not possible that you merely shifted from one dream to another without really awakening? Wow, what a beautiful example. Would you bother to reconcile what happened in conflicting dreams, or would you dismiss both together if you discovered that reality is in accord with neither? You do not remember being awake. When you hear the Holy Spirit, you merely feel better because loving seems possible to you. But you do not remember yet that it once was so. And it is in this remembering that you will know it can be so again. What is possible has not yet been accomplished, yet what has once been is so now, if it is eternal. When you remember, you will know what you remember is eternal, and therefore is now. You will remember everything the instant you desire it wholly. For if to desire wholly is to create, you will have willed away the separation, returning your mind simultaneously to your Creator and your creations. Wow, we want to will wholly so that we can return our minds to our Creator and our creations. Knowing them, you will have no wish to sleep, but only the will to waken and be glad. Dreams will be impossible because you will want only truth. Being at last your will, it will be yours. Dreams will be impossible because you will want only truth. And being at last your will, it will be yours. Wow. Okay, I will there be light. There is no will but God's. Be sure to do your hourly best you can. Every hour, try to bring the idea. If it's in the morning, and more often if you can, but if it's in the earlier part of the day, say, I will there be light. And I usually say, I will there be light. Darkness is not my will, because that's what I put on my song. There is no will but God's. If it's in the afternoon, say, there is no will but God's. I seek His peace today. There is no will but God's. I cannot be in conflict. Okay, well, let's see if we can have a little song here to be on our way. And thank you all so much for joining me and studying this lesson today. I will there be light, I will there be light, I will there be light, darkness not my will. I will there be light, I will there be light, I will there be light, darkness not my will. There is no will but God's, there is no will but God's, there is no will but God's. I cannot be in conflict. There is no will but God's. There is no will but God's. There is no will but God's. I seek His peace today. There is no will but God's. There is no will but God's. There is no will but God's. I seek His peace today. I will there be light. I will there be light. I will there be light. Darkness not my will. There is no will but God's. There is no will but God's. There is no will but God's. I cannot be in conflict. There is no will but God's. There is no will but God's. There is no will but God's. I seek His peace today. I will there be light. I will there be light. I will there be light. Darkness not my will. There is no will but God's. There is no will but God's. There is no will but God's. I cannot be in conflict. There is no will but God's. There is no will but God's. There is no will but God's. Seek His peace today. I will there be light. Darkness is not my will. There is no will but God's. I cannot be in conflict. There is no will but God's. I seek His peace today.